All right, ready when you are.
All right, let's call roll.
Burgess. Morton.
Here.
Myers.
Here.
Poskin.
Here.
Washington.
Here.
Williams. What's that time?
It is 6:06.
6:06 p.m. executive session. Derek Burgess has not met the room yet.
And for the record, the village clerk, the mayor, and attorney Mike McGrath. Trustee Burgess in your room.
Trustee Burgess enters the room at 6:06 p.m.
All right. Yes.
Okay, quick little update as far as litigation. The water case against roadways ongoing, as we talked last time. Getting into discovery tomorrow. They're then being roadways, attorneys are taking Jim Zarnick's deposition. So they're going through the village engineer, and then some of you guys have been deposed. Trustee Myers, I don't know if you were contacted about yours, about rescheduling, but...
Several times.
Okay.
And today they changed it once again. They cannot make March 5th. They wanted to do it earlier in the week. You can't make it earlier in the week, so I told Courtney it's got to be changed once again.
I'm in recertification class all that week,
Okay.
starting Monday all the way to
When am I supposed to be on?
I got to make that class, or I don't get my state
First week of March.
certification investigator.
All right. Okay, and then more importantly, Felicia put together a memo. I'm going to go over with you guys as far as upcoming negotiations. Although we just ended with the two contracts, the police and dispatcher, bless you. They're owed the retro pay, however, the contracts are expiring at the end of April of this year. So we have to gear up again for negotiations for police and the dispatchers. Two separate units, okay?
And both have sent letters requesting that we start negotiations for both unions.
You just demand a bargain, they send it out a couple months before the contract expires, so you start meeting and get together. So although we just got done with it, and actually all the retro pay hasn't even been paid yet, it's time to get going on upcoming elections for the subsequent contracts. So we're trying to stay ahead of the curve here and look at what all the costs are, where you are financially, because I know that you guys are now talking about cost savings initiatives at your meetings, or trying to come up with ideas what to do, and you always have your budget coming up and budget workshops. So we worked with Mohawk, and we worked together on essentially what your 911 dispatch center has costed you on an annual basis. And on the first page you'll see in pay, it costs you just under $300,000 a year. In overtime, just under $60,000 a year. IMRF, or the retirement program for those employees, $73,000. Health insurance, dental, and life and vision, just over $95,000. Uniform allowance, $3,000. Negotiation costs for the last contract in legal costs was about $7,500. So you're probably looking at something like that for the upcoming negotiations. So total pay and benefits is just over $500,000 per year. Mohawk looked at the past insurance rates. Your insurance rates are historically are increasing at 5 to 6% a year. And your workers' comp premiums for each employee, or workers' comp is $2,300 for the year. Per employee, so you factor out what the cost for the workers' comp. You take that premium divided by the total number of employees. I think the dispatch center has 8 to 9 employees, maybe
So less now, but
less than that. So that's why it's about $2,300 a year just for unemployment. The retroactive that has not been paid yet is to the dispatchers is $35,000. Your equipment, it was purchased in 2007. It only has a certain life expectancy. I think for that equipment you have another 3, maybe 4 years left on that equipment. The bad news on the equipment is you bought it for $1.4 million, and your outstanding balance on that equipment is $1.6 million. There's also a cost to maintain that equipment of over $70,000 a year. And the life expectancy again for the equipment is about another 2 to say 4 years. When that runs out, you're going to have to go out and get new equipment, and Currently, that type of equipment replacement would be just about $4 million. You also have a mandate that's been imposed by the federal government that you have to upgrade your current system to allow texting to 911 systems. Your system does not have that capability, so to upgrade your current system would cost anywhere from $500,000 to $1 million to upgrade your system
Jeez.
to allow that capability.
Now, you said that it's federally mandated.
It's an unfunded mandate.
Unfunded, yes. There was a deadline to do that last December, and they extended it, so they haven't given the date, but it's a mandate if it's coming, if it's going to be this year or next year. But in your current equipment, it'll cost you anywhere between $500,000 and $1 million, or it's going to have to be upgraded in your next piece of equipment. So we just want to make you aware of, what your dispatch center is costing you to employ approximately 8 employees in your overall budget.
Now, does this include the part-timers that came on? Will that lower
That
this number because the part-timers won't get?
It's not going to lower it significantly.
Okay, because you got the overtime here, that should be cut, and then the health and welfare, that'll be cut.
The part-time employees, there's 4 of them, which help replace 2 employees. So you're looking at the overtime for 2 employees. Again, it's not going to cut that much. There's still a large amount there.
Did you say, what was the part-time for the 4 employees total?
Yeah, there's
Roughly
4.
around.
I'm sorry.
The total cost for the 4 part-timers.
Well, your 4 part-time employees will still be the same amount as if for the 2 that were missing. Because they're getting part-time salary, they're still getting the same salary. We're just not paying the insurance for those 4, which really is 2 because we have 2 less full-time employees.
And what was the scale we were going to pay? What was the scale we was
They
looking
got
at
the
paying?
starting scale.
Which is,
So I don't know off the top of my head.
you know, one starting
16 something.
that's with full-time or part-time?
Full-time. I mean, that's what the full-timers get.
That's what,
Okay, so
Entry
about seven-
coming in.
seven
That's what
grand.
the part-timers are getting.
Okay.
In all, you can see that it's a huge expense for the village to run that dispatch center. I believe you had the referendum question also, the $1 911 surcharge that failed, easily failed, which would have brought in additional revenue. Yeah, I'm just telling you that I think looking at your finances, and you can go over it with Mohan, you might seriously want to consider looking at other alternatives for dispatching. And you're not alone, other communities are doing it. There's a lot of cost sharing that's going on with a lot of communities. You got to cut corners where you can. Different communities that are sharing public works facilities. A lot of communities are going with fire protection districts, and a lot of communities are getting rid of their own dispatch centers because they just can't afford it. And they're going with private dispatch centers.
Have anybody got any calls from the other ones? Let's see, there's Eastcom, Westcom, Southcom, and I think the Heights might stay their south. They're on their own now.
Yeah, the Heights takes care of their own. You got Linwood.
Yeah.
That's Linwood and East Hazelcrest. Then you have Southcom. Then you have Eastcom. And then
Frankfurt, Lincoln.
Lincoln Way. Right. So those are the ones that are on here. And of course, Joliet.
But we need repeaters for Joliet.
We're too far away. You have to do Linwood or Eastcom.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter where you're at, as long as the phone call goes in and then calls dispatch.
Well, it's the radio back. Radio.
Yeah.
You can't have Joliet calling us out here. It has to be something close where the towers should head.
Oh, but you could,
No,
but
you'd
you're
be
going
able
to
to
do the
technology
have to do
said they
the
could do
repeater
it.
system.
By the repeater. But then you
I
have
don't
to
know
upgrade
cost
the
this
radios.
country on repeater system.
Yeah, you got to upgrade the radios too to an 800.
Yeah, no, that's the big thing there. But you have to have at least each one of your radios have at least minimum 30 to 60 watts of power to push out to the repeaters. Did you get any kind of prices from any of the centers on what it would cost to?
No cost yet, no. Southcom, is that the one Stager one?
No, Eastcom.
Eastcom, when they were trying to get communities in, they started contacting me. I asked them to put something together, and then they said they were unable to take on Sauk Village because when they took on Stager, I think South Chicago Heights, some of the other communities, it was just going to be a little too much for them. They thought they could take on more. So they never came back with a cost and everything. And plus, they said now they're at the point where they're completely staffed. If they take on any more communities at Eastcom, they're going to have to put additions on.
Yeah. Will County is looking at it real close, so
Right.
not taking anybody else on.
I think they were pretty aggressive at first.
So that
And I think
leaves
a
it-
bunch of communities jumped on, and
That leaves you on either Lincoln, Linwood, Southcom, Lincoln Way.
I think what we're doing is, and again, if you look at the last sentence in Felicia's letter, it's getting the board to say, okay, it's okay that at least we start exploring other options, and we can reach out to these other dispatch centers and get some solid numbers. So,
The only thing that I've heard I was just what I've been told is one of the cost factors is it's like every time the dispatcher, say we have an accident, police department has to be dispatched, the fire department has to be dispatched, emergency services has to be dispatched, and also buses. We have 4. You get dinged 4 times for that one call.
but there's certain ways that other communities have looked into it, and I talked to some of the mayors. Number one, it's training the officers on how many times they make calls. Because a lot of things the officers can do inside their cars, so they have the computers.
Our computers, some of them are down or we don't have them in our cars.
It's more than you think.
Police Department, the fire apparatuses and the squad,
You don't have them.
yeah, they're one Wi-Fi.
Yeah,
We have
but
hook up to them.
But they're not working, right?
We need to hook up over there, and that's gonna cost major expense. It was working 7, 8 years ago, every one of them was.
Again,
Because I've used them on fire scenes already.
Yeah.
again, looking at the contract we signed with Comcast, that's getting us the, whatever they call it, the special lines and stuff. So it's going to make it a lot easier and a lot better for us right now compared to what we currently have. So, trustee, did you get something?
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of piggyback on what you said. Yeah, I did talk to a couple of other municipalities, and you're 100% right. A lot of them are full. We're not taking on any new customers right now. But I do know Stager, when they got involved, it cost them a lot more than they thought at first. But then after a certain point of time, see what happens is last one in is going to pay more until someone else comes in and helps defray the cost. So when you come in into that conglomerate, be Eastcom, whoever it may be, Southcom, you're going to pay a little bit more until someone else joins. When someone else joins and the cost is defrayed out and things like that, which kind of makes sense.
Yeah, the more
because
people come.
because they're going to have to. Well, when you come in, they're going to have to hire, but they got enough people for right now. But I'm looking at talking about maybe $20,000.
Not counting the new equipment.
Not counting equipment. I mean, but the average cost, Stager the average cost was something like $550,000. So therefore, that's right there, and they don't pay anything else.
I don't know, because I talked to the village manager over in Stager, and their cost savings by going to a joint dispatch center was over $250,000.
No, I'm talking about how much they're paying. I ain't talking about cost. I'm talking about how much they have to. In other words, they're paying about $40,000 a
I
year.
think that's what they were paying, because last I talked to him, he said they're down to,
Really?
they're down to about under $300,000.
You better ask him again, Dave, because I talked to Mike, and he's the one that told me that at first they thought it was a bad idea, but then now they're seeing that they're saving money. But at first, quite naturally, everyone is higher, and
I think they do it different ways on how to charge municipalities. Call volume.
yeah. Well, I mean, quite naturally, if you have a you know,
If you're a
over.
busier
Yes.
community, you're going to be charged more.
Yes.
because
There might be
you have
different
more
tax.
networks.
But I mean, but in all, reason why I'm saying all in all, it's the hardest part, and that's what I don't know if they've told you, is getting the residents acclimated to that. You know, they were kind of, residents kind of feel, well, we don't have anybody here and all this and that, but it's still the same services. But how do you tell somebody that, we don't have a dispatch here, but your truck will be out there. It's coming. Same thing as if it was. That's the hardest part to sell, to let them know that you don't have anybody sitting in the chair, which is automation time. I mean, this is a new day, But I'm looking at these costs, and I don't know, who said Linwood has their own, or Linwood is part of somebody?
Linwood has their own.
Linwood has their own.
They're paying that kind of money?
Linwood had, I don't know what they're doing, but East Hazel Crest is. what-
Glenwood is looking to go joint dispatch.
I was going to say, because that would be
Because
something.
they can't afford theirs anymore either.
That's what I'm
Really?
saying, yeah. That's what I'm saying. That would be the next thing I was wondering, if we could partner up with them and another community that's happening, go in and maybe either start a new or something.
I think the problem you have is the amount of money with all the upgrades and stuff you come up with, especially these unfunded mandates.
Yeah.
But these kind told you already they don't have the room. Unless you're going to pay a premium price, that means you got to pay.
What about
Huh?
stepping over cost?
Yeah, unless you pay at the beginning for employees to be added on.
What about going across state lines, about Dyer?
I think that we get to the point where we started scoring. We go out there and reach out there and find out, what kind of cost is it going to cost? Start getting all the numbers, find out what our call values are, so we can start giving some of these other dispatch centers some factual numbers,
Yeah, right.
so they can give us a pretty close ballpark.
That was my second thing. I thought we had.
Yeah, I'd
I
like to
thought we
get the-
really had done that. We had
We'd like to
talked
get
about
the
it before.
information. I'd like to send out FOIAs to all the surrounding communities to see what they're paying.
What, for their dispatch?
Yeah, it's Creed's part of EastCom, right?
Yes, Creed is
Each company.
So that's where it originates from, Creed,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Sits right there behind the station there.
Big old tire.
So you got Creed, and you got Steger.
Steger is Steger, that's what I'm going to bring up. As long as we have do anything with any type of prisoners, you're still going to have to man that center. Because if we're going to house anybody in our cells at any time, we're going to have somebody in there 24 hours a day.
But our dispatchers can't do it right now.
Well, right.
So, our dispatchers are not considered as a person who watches the prisoner.
No, you can't
But they
operate the
do.
radio with your back to the screen.
They got the screen.
Well, they got the screens, but they can call for if an officer needs help. But we usually have an officer, when you're holding someone, an officer's in there.
The state police jump all over you if you do that.
And you can't just have a screen out there. You've got an officer sitting there. That's why a lot of times people are complaining because they don't see officers on the street. They may have a prisoner sitting back there. They're at the station with the prisoners.
I know there's a dispatch on duty in Steger. The other night when we was out during the snowstorm, they assisted us. I needed their call number to log them from my state report, and I called over there thinking at the police station, and there was a dispatcher on duty. And so I know there's at least one.
I was at a village hall where that you walk up to the window where the dispatch center used to be. There's a phone on the wall. You pick up the phone, you push a button. It's East Hazel Crest. I don't remember where I was. But I remember you picked up the phone, you pushed the button, and went directly to the dispatcher wherever their dispatch center was. And then you said I need to talk to a sergeant or I need to talk to someone shift commander. And
That used to be here,
called
Dave.
me in.
As long as you're Joe, you just picked the phone up and went to Scott Wright. And we talked. That's going back a few years.
Yeah, that goes back quite a few years.
Yeah. But our equipment is definitely is getting old, and we have to just let it go, and now it's going to cost us a buck to bring it back into compliance with the state and FCC.
Yeah, we're pretty far behind right now.
So basically, you're asking, should we go forward and also put the negotiations on hold because of,
No, you have to go forward with negotiations because they made a demand. It's upcoming. But I'm looking for, the police is looking for the authority to go ahead and get information from surrounding communities to bring that to the negotiation table and say, look at, we can get, well, yeah,
Definitely.
but if we look at it, it's like, if we can get dispatching done wherever for $450,000. Right now it's costing $520,000 in the equipment, and including, retro pay and upgrades and stuff.
Now, and that's all well and good, but it's always been the police first, then TCO second. So we got both of them coming up this time. I mean, we're going out
You have to
looking.
negotiate with both.
We can't tell one.
Hinsdale tried to go with a police protection district, and that failed. Which I think in probably 10 years, within the next 10 years, you're going to see that in a lot of towns. They're going to be sharing police forces. They're going to have one chief that operates over 2 communities, or work out a system. They're doing it right now everywhere with fire protection districts. In different towns, and actually the ratings went up, insurance costs went down, coverage, it's just
I mean, because if we
economically, it's got to be done.
even
for
with
a
the
reason.
negotiations, I mean, they just got a raise and they just got back pay.
Well, they haven't got it all yet.
Well, I mean, but that's it's in writing. I'm just
Well,
looking
that they're
at.
going to have to get.
That's what I'm talking about. They're going to get that.
Is the retro up and through.
Right, up until the end of the contract.
There was no contracts going on back to 2012. There was no contracts going on back to 2012. So you're looking at their retro pay. One thing we did is we had to get them caught back up. So you're right. There is retro pay out there. There's still some owed to the dispatchers.
Yeah.
And they understand we're waiting for our money to come in.
Well, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about what I'm looking at is right now, we got to go back in again. And we go back in again and tell them, hey, 0, 0, 0, and give me 5%.
Well, no, here's what you have, though, is you have Felicia is able to go out there and start getting all this information. She can go back and, just like the letter says here, she can go back to them and say, present it to the union, here's what the village can do. Okay? Now, either you can, her exact words are with a meet it or beat it proposal. Again, this is going to be a little bit different negotiations with these unions, because you're right, always in the past, everyone waited to see what the police department did.
That's what I'm talking about.
They've come back with a letter of demand that we start the negotiations.
Who?
The union did.
Which union?
Both of them. So now with their letter of demand, we can go back there, especially giving Felicia the okay. She can get all this information and she can sit down with them. And if they say they want to wait to see what the police department gets, well, it's not going to work that way. Here's your options. We can go to a joint dispatcher and it's going to cost us this much. Now, as a union, what are you going to do to help the village? Can you meet this or beat it? So the negotiations on this contract will be a lot different than what you've seen in the past.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, but
Bargaining.
that's why, I don't know. Only thing I'm saying, Mayor, is we haven't finished this one, and you see where we're at right now. See how far we are behind the 8 ball with the police department. I'm not even talking about TCO. And even with this, even if we did go to East Com or whatever, we still have a problem. We're still going to be at any kind of raise is going to make us not be able to do it. And if they hear it now that there's going to be a freeze, I mean, hey, they get ready for a freeze, because I don't see anything. I see us trying to get our money for the insurance, but I don't see a raise. Not this one. You just got something. You got a job. I see a freeze. I mean, that's just me. I just see a freeze, and yes, and then also a freeze, and we may possibly get rid of the TCOs because we just don't have it. I mean, it's hard trying to pay payroll each and every pay period, and you don't wonder where it's going to come from.
Well, we know definitely that the police department is one of the toughest ones. But we fall into, the police department is what's it called, mediated union, what they call it.
What do you mean, government? I know what you're talking about.
They can't strike.
They can't strike.
No, but they can. They
can also go binding arbitration? Or?
Well, all of them can do that.
And the police department's a little different, because what ends up happening is we end up going to the mediator.
But if we show him that we don't have it.
No, we showed everything last year. We showed them exactly where the village was, and now they don't care. When you sit in front of those mediators, they say...
Then we have to do what we say we're going to do. If we give you a raise, we got to lay off.
Right. Well, the thing is, with the mediator, they say, well, other communities are giving this.
Other communities don't have the income. Our income is a lot different than other communities as far as our...
Trust me, I've sat in these meetings, I know exactly where you're coming from, and I've pleaded for them. And They don't care, they don't live here, they don't represent us. So,
It's gonna come down to that though. I mean, if they want a raise or whatever, and then we have to, we have the power to lay off.
and the union employees don't care.
What do you mean won't care?
They don't care. They want the raise. If you got to lay off, lay people off. And then they end up filing a grievance because they got too much work to do. And you're not providing them with the amount of manpower they need.
That's true.
Just looking at it, you know, you would think that you would save around $250,000 a year. Just looking at it, because you wouldn't have your IMRF contributions, you wouldn't have your health insurance contributions, you wouldn't have uniform allowance, you wouldn't have any negotiation costs, and you wouldn't have the $70,000 to maintain the current equipment. It's just maintenance costs. That's not even paying for the equipment. So you take all that, that's about $250,000 a year, just in fixed costs that you'd be able to eliminate.
Well, and that's if the price stays at a certain price. In other words, what we pay for EastCom. That's if it stays at that rate, at a certain
Right,
rate.
you'd have to negotiate and look at that.
If it stays at that rate, then you're right. Everything you said right there would come into play.
But those rates also increase if you stayed, you know, if you looked and did a spreadsheet for 10 years. Your insurance costs are going up 5% every year.
That's,
So in 10
you're right,
years,
$70,000 a year just for insurance. Yes.
Right. So in 10 years,
That's one third of the salary. Or 1/4 of the salary, sometimes.
You're right, about a third.
So I mean,
Again, give Felicia the okay to go ahead and start.
I thought we
doing
did. Tell you the truth, though, I thought we'd done that already. But yes, I would.
Well, I mean, communities, I mean, like the mayor of Cree, he contacted us, but they never gave us any numbers. They didn't say anything.
Why?
They just wanted to know if Sauk Village,
Or if they want to come in with you.
if they want to come in with them, and they've already taken on Stager. They said, "Oh, let me get Stager and South. I think South Chicago Heights is going on.
Yeah.
Let's get this
They're
all
on.
done." So it was one of those things where they started communication, and the mayor of Crete said, "Hey, we're bringing on Stager, we're bringing on South Chicago Heights. We'd like to bring Sauk Village on too. Let us get here, and once we get everything set up, we'll start working on numbers." Well, they never got to that point, and they figured out, well, we've taken on these other two communities. If we're bringing on Sauk Village, we're going to have to put an addition onto the building.
Well, they're going to make us pay for it. Like I said, last one in.
But they're not going to do it.
Oh, they're not going to.
Well, you can't ask a community to come to a joint dispatch center and pay for your building. I mean, that's their hard cost they have to come up with. Our cost is how many calls, what our call volume is. We don't pay for their building and that kind of stuff.
Our call volume, I know our PD call volume is over what Stager.
It's more than Stager?
It's more than Stager, yes.
Well,
Our
that's, what
call
we have,
volume.
that's what we have to find out what the call volume is.
Really?
Yes. There's a lot.
Is it more?
We probably
I
do.
know it's more than Creek, but I didn't think it was more than
Yeah,
State.
it's more than Stager. Because
I wish I would know. I still like today too.
But now, what about what would happen with the if we did go to the TCLs? What would happen? The fire department would go through the dispatch center.
Everything does, yeah.
We would have to go with the dispatch center to go with, and we are so far just a matter of radio change. All our radios has been updated. We just have to change the frequency.
Who pays for that?
Well, the village paid for quite a bit of it. The fire money we got in paid for a lot of it.
Same thing with the police department. They have to pay. The police department have to get new radios. Or?
I don't know if we have to, because we just upgraded all our radios.
Okay.
Yeah,
But
radios are done.
yeah, radios, no, because all it is a radio tower. I mean,
Jeff, if you don't have the frequency or the radio is not capable of doing that frequency,
And
you need a radio.
Yeah, we just got all. Yeah,
they
we
have
just
it,
got all
and
new
it's a tone.
radios.
They push a button, it's the tone.
That
And the
tone is
tones-
only alerting tone to
Right.
open the frequency up.
Right, and
But
then
you
you
still
speak.
need the radio for the frequency to open it
But we
up.
have those. So
Yes,
there's-
that's what I said. We
But there's no
got
cost.
the
We
radio.
have them. There's
Yeah,
no
we
cost.
just got all new radios. We just got, I think, some money from the county or from the state. Police department just got all new radios. I don't know how many the fire department got.
We get portable radios from the county.
County
It's-
portable. Yeah.
And there's
And then when we
four.
got the new squad cars, we put all new radios inside the squad cars. So
Right.
there's six of, I know for sure 6 of them have
And-
new radios in that.
Is that 800 system?
That's
So
all
that's
county.
what was mandated
PD got
through the state.
5. We have 3.
Yeah.
And I
That's
think as the house
that's
one.
That was another one of those unfunded mandates that came through the state.
Right.
State always does that. You got it.
So if everyone's okay, we'll go ahead and have Felicia start looking into it. Mike can go ahead and start doing the FOIAs for the other communities, find out what they're paying. And again, we don't have to start negotiations quite yet, but they've already sent their letter, and like Mike said, those letters come out about a month or two, a couple months ahead of time, saying that we want to start negotiations. We're coming up to the time for the contract.
Over in February, by the time we get some of this information, we'll be at the end of February, March, and the contract's up in April.
You know, there's a lot of stuff sometimes to push back a little bit, and we catch it a little late. Can the board be kept up to date on this, what's coming up? Did he just
Yeah, we have
different?
Felicia, or
when you
I'll
ask
put
them,
together
find out what-
spreadsheets and show you what the costs are from the other communities.
Find out if they're capable of
Information,
taking
yeah.
another community on, and you gotta know the PD cost. And you should already have the PD cost from the minutes that he gave at the very end of the year, when he gave his total year call, so you should have that in the minutes already. And you have ours already, so.
Yeah.
And then see if they're capable of taking a couple of good questions to ask. I can't remember that center. There's supposed to be a new center, but I don't know where the heck it's at.
All right, like everything else, because we're going through all this and gathering all this information, we're in executive session, just to make sure that it stays here, it doesn't leave here. So
Well, your
the
dispatch
attorneys-
center and stuff, your radio stuff been out for months and months and months, Dave. So it's been out there.
No matter what we do,
It's put out
But
there.
again, this is just something that now we're going into the fact that they're going to start investigating and finding out what their community stuff are doing. So, all right. Anything else?
Nope.
All right. There's one other thing with the litigation. I know I wasn't here for the last one. We talked about it. So the sue against this department, that was what, $290,000. It looks like that, talking to Mohan, it looks like we already paid our self-insured part.
So 50,000.
So we've already paid, or the question was, did it fall under the old 25,000 self-insured or 50,000? So he was looking into it, but he was pretty positive that we paid it. I know I wasn't here for it. I think you were here for the discussions. If I'm wrong, make sure you say something. But the negotiations for this came through the insurance company. I don't think Otis and Stirk had anything to do with negotiating this. I was never contacted with negotiations. Usually I sit in the mediation, or at least they call and ask for representative from the village. We had no representation during this. The insurance company made the final offer, and it looks like they accepted it. So I know I've heard some rumblings about that. I just want to make sure I share the board that I sat in the meetings at all on this. I was not offered to attend any of the mediations, and Otis and Sturps, our own attorneys, were not involved in this. Again, this goes back to 2009, I think it is. So it goes back quite a few years. And it also falls under previous attorneys, fell under the previous attorneys.
Well, are you going to take steps forward to make sure it doesn't happen again by signing somebody, attorney or trustee or something else?
We already have taken steps when it comes to getting attorneys. We make sure everything, first of all, goes to our attorneys. If it's something they can handle, they handle it. If it's something that the insurance company has to handle, we keep a close eye on that, and we make sure that we're in communication with those
I'm gonna make a
attorneys.
smart remark.
So,
How did that happen?
goes back 2009. It goes back previous.
If we ever took a step, because we ever did with a step to get.
No, I'm saying we're taking steps going forward. We work very closely with our insurance company, which everyone knows Valerie, and Owen is the Owens Group. So they're constantly letting us know if there's any litigation, if anything's happening, and they know that Otis and Sturp takes first look at it. So
Has the Owens Group basically seen this situation, just raise our rates?
Again, we'll take a look at it, and in all reality, we probably will have a raise in rates because of
They'll be
this.
presenting in 2 weeks, by the way.
Yep.
They're on the agenda in
So
2
they're on
weeks.
the agenda to come back and present. So we're up for renewal.
You'll find
So
out.
they're out there very diligently looking to try to keep our rates either at the same or lower, but again, something like this hitting us will hurt us definitely.
Possible.
It's 41.
Alrighty?
I just have a question like I asked you before. Has anybody talked to people involved and said anything?
I think, and like I said to you, I would encourage, if you trustees want to talk to the chief, I would go over and talk to him. Again, you're going to hear one side of the story. Because remember, this is...
That's what I'm saying.
You can talk, and again, you're dealing with employees who are still working here. You have one employee that works over here, and you've got employees that work on the police department. I think out of 5 over at the police department, there's only 4 that's still here. They're each going to have their side of the story, and they're each going to say they should have won, and one side did win. Again, I look at the attorneys, and I look at the facts that are presented to us, and you've got the court case and what happened. That's where you're going to see probably, if you want to say, an objective point of view. So, we can bring the police department over here and they can sit back here and tell them we should have never lost this and blah, 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 blah. And if you brought Sue here, she'd say, I got what I deserved. In fact, she probably thought she should have deserved more. And she ended up taking less than what she thought she deserved. So, again, you have to know, we still have employees working here.
The simple things in that thing was violated. When you have to have a warrant. You go into somebody's house in case you have a problem with calls, do it then and there. And it spelled it out pretty blank in the statement that I read that they didn't have no warrant, and they never did produce a warrant.
And I'm sure they could probably...
Stuff like that is normal. You know that thing on the police department.
But again, I wasn't mayor at the time, number one. Again, it's going back 2009, and I'm not saying that...
Well, I understand that. At the
This
time,
amount
there
falls
was
underneath
several
my
things
administration,
going
or
on.
our administration that's sitting here. But again, I'm sure they could come back and say they talked to her and she gave me okay, and I'm sure that, again, there was a lot of verbal. Again, you've got people saying, I'm taking care of one of my fellow employees. And again, there's a lot of things that could be said that the courts have ruled. I guess it's out of court settlement. They've settled out of court.
My question, Mayor, and this is just my personal, I've said this before, and I we've had 4 people. Well, wait a minute, take that back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people that work here in the village that cost us over $500,000 in the litigation. It probably cost us about maybe $300,000 out of our pocket, and our rates to go up. And nothing has happened. 4 of them still work here. And the perception is what I'm looking at. I'm looking at the perception that this happened. Not saying that we can go out there and do this or that, but at least some type of come in and let's sit down and let me find out what happened. It just seems like, okay, they made a mistake. We pay it for it. Life goes on. And that's basically what it looks like.
Where's accountability?
That's the word. Not just accountability, but just there's no repercussion. Okay, so yes, I know the last time I cost, I'm sorry, that didn't happen to me, but I know the last time someone cost someone that kind of money, there was some type of reprimand. A letter or something inside their docket or something. But to not say anything simply because we weren't part. We were part. We weren't kept abreast of what's going on. We weren't told what was going on. Because last time I heard about it, I just heard the story years and years ago, what happened at that time. But I thought it was dropped because I didn't hear anything else. I didn't know it was ongoing litigation, to tell you the truth. And you're right, that part there is the administration's fault, absolutely. But now that it gets to this point now, and they've been proven wrong, in this administration, not to say anything, don't say, hey, testimony dictates that you did this, that you did that, that you did this. I want to put this in your folder stating that you did drop the ball at this particular time, and you need to say because it was proven that you did. Something to that effect, but nothing. That's why I have a problem. We're not saying that it's your fault. No, it's not. We're not sitting there pointing the fingers at whose fault it is. We're sitting here with factual evidence that it was proven that they did wrong. Obviously, they did wrong because it was so. So, and I'm pretty sure if we had went to court, the insurance company would have told us we're only gonna pay you X amount, everything else is on you, so, you're gonna pay the rest.
Yeah, but let me look at this.
So I'm just looking at what are we prepared to do, or whatever, what's gonna be done.
The people's asking us, are we gonna do anything? That's who we're responsible to going back to.
I can tell you that.
What are we doing?
I can tell you if anything's gonna be done, we're gonna make sure we do it right, okay? But again, it's a settlement out of court. There was no.
There's no admission of liability,
Right.
but you could read between the lines that the amount was settled, is leaning more one way than the other.
Right.
It's a business decision.
But
to settle it.
No court said that they were guilty.
Mhm.
It's an out-of-court settlement. So, hey, you go off and, again, I know that everyone wants accountability, and I can tell you right now, whatever's gonna happen, we're gonna make sure we're gonna do it the right way, okay? And
Olson is going to be involved with that. 110%.
we will definitely rely on.
What's wrong is
our
the law
attorneys.
firm, they never gave you guys any updates.
No, that's what I'm saying.
It went on for
Okay, I'm
for
saying
years,
that, and
and
that's
then
true.
I saw it, I got an email that it was settled, and I reached out to the attorney because I'm dealing with him, he's suing another community. So I'm like, when are you going to let us know about the settlement? Who went to it? How much? And doesn't the village have to approve it? And he's like, oh, I guess they do. Can you put it on the agenda? I'm going, well, how much? And, what's been going on? There's been no updates. So then, after you guys approved it last week, I said that it was approved, but that the village was upset because they hadn't gotten any updates and weren't involved and didn't know anything of what was going on with the case.
No.
Any of the defenses or any of the positions of any of the parties.
But we're not holding the
Who said
lawyers.
what?
We're not holding the lawyers accountable. We're not. As a matter of fact, we're not, especially Olson and Sturp, because they weren't even involved. What happened back then, it happened. Yes, it did, and they didn't tell us. My question is, what are we going to move forward now? We're trying to at least find out who dropped the ball, whatever. Are we allowed to do that? Because basically, now I'm listening to you saying that it may be a legality problem by even questioning them and asking them, did they do this, or what was the reason
No,
why?
we talked about that last time. You could and you should bring them in, either individually or talk to them and say, hey, what happened?
That's all. I mean,
But
but I
Mary-
talked about that there's some pending cases
No.
that they might say.
But you're right. You did say we should ask. But the mayor said we shouldn't bring them in.
Now that this is settled, you have the right.
That's all I want to know. I mean, because that's a lot of money for something like that, and not only that, we have other cases, and we keep. I don't know. It's just that it's the perception. We still
We keep
settling.
getting sued by the same people.
We getting sued, and we're not getting sued by our
Same
residents.
people.
We're getting sued by our employees.
But remember, the person or the group that settled was the insurance company.
But they were sued by our employees.
I know.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying our employees are the ones that's costing us money and they're still getting the
You look
paycheck.
at almost every lawsuit we've had, you can probably say the highest percentage is employees.
Most of them were. Most of them were. Now, there was a few that, but
Can we get a
still,
rep
the
from the
few
truck?
that were done were, and there's another
You can
thing.
request them to come.
Just like the tickets, man. I mean, so at some point in time, we got to stop. We got to say, oh, wait a minute.
I think, and again, and the trustee makes a good point. I think the person we should have in here is the attorneys that represented the village under this case. Have them come back and talk to us.
Why should they?
Or we can request it.
I mean, but why should that mean they settle? I
I can
mean,
tell you-
they're gonna sit there and tell you that if we didn't settle, it's gonna cost you millions.
And I can
Yeah,
tell you, if I
that's
said
true.
before you as an
Exactly what they're
employee, I
gonna
would
say.
Yeah, they're
say,
gonna say that.
but I can tell you that if I was an employee, I would say, if they would have fought it, we would have won. And I've never been proven that I was guilty because it never went before court.
That's right.
The insurance company settled out of court prior to it going before a judge and a jury. And if I was standing before you, I would say, I felt that we did everything to what we were supposed to do. And my opinion is, they should have never settled out of court. They should have went all the way through the court system.
So therefore, okay, well then that.
You think about if you're sitting in that chair right there, and you had all of us sitting here looking at you, what would you say?
Then you gotta watch out for what they would call retribution.
That's right.
Oh well, no. All I want to know is, did you make that decision?
No.
Did you make that decision to go into someone's house without an arrest warrant?
And you know what, they may say, just like the attorney is, you know what, there's other pending litigations that may be brought before it, and I'm not gonna say anything at this time.
I'm talking about the one that we just settled on.
That's us, but there's other pending litigations.
No, I understand that. I'm not asking about
It's
no,
this
I'm
case.
asking you about this
No,
case.
On that case, they're still suing the.
No, they're suing. That's the house on the dock. They got nothing to do with us.
If
Yes,
they
it
come in
will.
here and make a comment, it would.
Sorry, they could be called down.
I'm not saying-
No,
I
only
just
thing I'm
hope they don't
saying is
turn around and
out
try to
there,
come back and
Ed
get
is
us.
right. Out there in the street, people are, you keep selling, you keep. We're sitting here talking because we can't tell
Well, hell,
them
I'm
in
gonna
the
work for the
street.
village. I
We
can sell
can't
you
tell
money.
them in the street what's going on because we're in executive session. But the first thing they say, man, that's the last time somebody sued, it was your police chief. Last time I sued was your deputy chief. Last time somebody sued the village was your
Village administrator.
right, village, right. I mean, let me stand in line.
I think.
I mean,
You're right.
I mean, it's just, but if they see something that, okay, this person did this, we say, well, we got, not saying we can say that, but they need to let them know that you just can't sue it at will.
You know what, we're a municipality. And again, in the
So we got to suck it up.
In the corporate world, I've never even heard of someone, you let someone go, you lay them off. You don't hear someone suing the corporate world because you laid me off. But in a municipality, you laid me off, I'm suing you. It's
Hostile
crazy.
work environment.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it doesn't, I'm just saying,
Yeah,
we're
well-
talking about we don't have money. We can't pay payroll. But we're spending this kind of money on other stuff that has nothing to
Yeah,
do.
but the insurance is the insurance company. Again,
But we still have to pay.
at $290,000.
We're paying both ways. We're paying because our insurance rate is going down. We got to pay the first $50,000. So when we go out there and buy that insurance that used to cost us $100,000, now it's going to cost us $125 because we got so many hits. Everybody here got a car. They know what happens when you have too many accidents. You get on the hit list. We are on. That's why IML dropped us. We are on the hit list. So now when we go out there,
We're going to have this for years.
okay, as I said,
dropped this back in 2009.
well, I'm just saying that's we're not getting any better. Owens came in.
Risk management took us for 3 months and dropped us.
Owens came in and said they're going to try to help us out, but
Right.
this keeps coming up.
And Owens Group is doing a great job.
They are. We're not.
Is that right?
They are. That's all I'm saying. They are. They're doing a darn good job. They got training and everything else going. I appreciate that, but
Training, safety meetings.
as more as you
everyone.
try to climb up,
But again, they're taking all that back when they're trying to get negotiating
but you can't
a
stop
better rates.
that.
They're saying,
Somebody-
we've started safety meetings, we've started training, here's a training, they're putting all the training records, here's what our village employees are taking the training. So they're out there.
But
working.
just like anything else, though, David, one, what stops a million attaboys, and you know that. All it takes is one. Just one, you know what I'm talking about, stops 1 million attaboys. So.
Alrighty. Nothing else? That's for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion second, to adjourn. All in favor, say aye. Aye. And we have to go back out and reconvene out front.
Meeting is adjourned at 6:54 p.m.